When people say it's 2023, it's just like, who told you that?
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy coming to you with an absolutely fantastic movie in today's main event, Creed. Oh, so good, so good. Not that there haven't been great Rocky movies so far. Some stinkers, but some great ones.
Yep.
Creed is another level, though, man. We'll talk about it on the main event today. I saw Creed the absolute most perfect way you can actually see or experience any cinema, really, which is on an airplane. And
Yes.
and a tiny screen with horrible sound and sobbing openly and loudly, very, very close to strangers who don't know what you're watching or why you're reacting the way you are. So talk about that. The continuation of the Rocky legacy and the sort of a branch out into in a new direction in today's main event. We are the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello, everybody. I'm gonna drink some water.
It's like, why are you taking during your intro is when you pick up your cup for the water.
It just was very parched.
Smooth.
Water.
Eric, how was your Valentine's Day?
Actually, I'll talk about it because I tweeted it. It was
no,
great.
I know. I want you to talk about it.
I had a colonoscopy.
Oh no, I didn't know that part. I just knew the My Bloody
part?
Valentine part.
Oh, that one.
That was an even better reveal than I expected. I thought you were just going to talk about fun horror movies.
Oh no, I mean it was a fun horror movie.
I have to tell you, I had a colonoscopy. Chef kiss. Colonoscopy. I had one back when I had an intestinal parasite.
Ooh,
this would have
that's
been
awesome. That's a great band name, by the way.
I know this would have, I think it was like 12 years ago. But it's one of those things where when you get sweet hospital knockout drugs that make you sleep, they're amazing. And there's a point, Eric, as you and I get older too, where we're like, if this is death, and if this is what death's embrace truly feels like, this is wonderful. It's like, I can only hope when I pass that this is what I experience, because you're going under, but you're fine with it.
Right.
You yes, please take me. That's why.
It works so fast and so well. And it's funny because, and I've had anesthesia before, but it's like, you forget because they said to me like, okay, we'll see you when we're done. And I'm thinking to myself, but I'm still totally, it's like, next thing I know, it's like I'm in another room and everything's, it's just like, they know when they say that we're turning this shit on and you're going to be out. It's very, very effective. What was, I'm trying to remember when, they do the thing where you have to be taken out in a wheelchair to be picked up.
Yes.
I got chastised for standing up too quickly when I was when I was still inside the.
What are you, some sort of stander?
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember what the guy said to me.
Sitters only.
We were waiting for Trish to pick me up, and something I said made him say like, "Oh, you're a Marvel fan." I mean, you know me.
You said my name is Matty Pryor. I was sick, but I got better.
Yeah, I made a cure ever. And I said something about comic books. He goes, "Oh, you're a Marvel fan." Oh yeah, and he goes, yeah, I love Marvel. And then he goes, but the Flash looks pretty good. I go, yeah, it does. He goes, but I'm gonna wear a Marvel shirt when I go see it. So it's like I'm gonna go see the Flash, but I'm gonna wear a goddamn Marvel shirt.
Oh my god, that's
so they know I'm a Marvel guy.
When I did Galactic Star Cruiser and someone dressed like a fucking someone from the Federation. You spent so much money to troll. It's crazy.
But then yes, that night I did watch Trish and I watched the original My Bloody Valentine. Both are good.
Both are good.
Yeah.
Because I watched the other night, I was just doing hey, I'm gonna watch something on Shudder night, and I picked the double bill of Near Dark and the new one, My Bloody Valentine 3D from, what is it, 2008 or 9 or something?
I think it was 2009 because I was impressed to realize it was the start. It was January 2009, Avatar would open December 2009, so it was not one of the glommed on to the Avatar.
It was 3D before 3D had a big boom.
In fact, Cameron wasn't even going to have Avatar in 3D.
He retrofitted it. Not many people know that. He retrofitted everything.
I just saw this movie. Ryan Collins, who follow on Twitter, and he's a writer. He does freelance work for Fangoria, a bunch of other outlets. Big horror fan. He moderates a lot. He'll do a lot of like panel, screenings with Q&As. He just did one Friday 13th Part 3 a few weeks ago. But on Valentine's Day night, he was doing My Bloody Valentine 3D with a Q&A. Couldn't make it to that. I was sad to say, but I did watch the original that night. And fun.
Both are good. I've seen the new one more, but I have seen the old one like twice or so. But it's really
I had never seen the original until a few years ago. It was a double. I want to say it was a double feature with Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I can't remember what thematically they decided. I mean, 80s horror, but there was something else they decided to link them. But it was fun night.
Well,
fun night.
I didn't see it until after I'd seen the new one, so I went back to watch it afterwards, and I know how I got it. I got it via Netflix when they were still sending you DVDs. That was a Netflix DVD rental.
Amazing. Yes, Trish had never seen the original, but enjoyed it the other night.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, we went to a vegan place that every Valentine's Day has a special menu. I'm a sucker for a special menu, Eric. Not a secret menu like the fast food ones, but a special menu.
But secret menus are cool too.
They are. They're cool. They are cool. But special menus actually get printed. Like even the Alamo at Quantumania with the little tiny magnifying glass and the little thing, like that's a special menu. It's like a novelty thing.
And always, sometimes you won't see if like, say there's like, Wakanda Forever is out and they have a special menu for it, but you're not seeing Wakanda Forever in a different theater. So you might not physically see the special menu, but I'll still make sure to ask about it because sometimes that's how I've had delicious things I wouldn't have known.
I can't have it because of my food restrictions, but I heard the Wakanda, whatever they had for the popcorn for that Wakanda Forever was very good.
Oh, they've had some good popcorn. So they
have good. They have that churro popcorn now that they put the churros in it.
Was that? I can't remember if that was the one they first called the Riddler popcorn, but I think it might have been. But anyway,
for what? Really for actually the Batman.
For the Batman, yeah.
He doesn't even mention churros in that.
He does.
Is it in his journals?
Yes. Oh, Batman.
So anyway, it was great because it's like lemon pasta and like buffalo artichoke spinach dip, stuff like that. So it was good. My Bloody Valentine 3D. That's my good thing to enjoy.
It was called the Enigma popcorn, a puzzling mix of popcorn,
were
butter,
the churros in it,
cinnamon sugar, and churro bites.
So it's just because it's a puzzling mix. It's not like because they're shaped like question marks.
Go with it, Matt. It was delicious.
I'm with it because it smells really good. Apparently, it's very good.
Yes.
All right. Let's do this. Speaking of, what were we speaking of? Oh, 3D. Speaking of 3D, one of the great 3D movies of that era, How to Train Your Dragon, animated film classic, turned into a TV series too. Sadly,
a couple different animated series.
Yeah. Sadly, I missed 3. I still haven't seen 3.
Oh, you haven't seen 3?
I heard great things about it.
Yeah, I saw 3. We like to talk about when we cry at movies. I saw 3. Like I went by myself and I saw it. I think I saw it a 10 a.m. show. It had been out a few weeks, and I was like one of 3 people in the theater. Yeah, and I'm just like weeping.
I knew from the trailer I would sob openly in that movie. But yeah,
because you have to. I think you have to credit Pixar for this. But like a lot of animated series now, they embrace the passage of time in a way you wouldn't expect from cartoons back in the day. Right. And so suddenly it becomes these stories about we're all getting older, even our dragon,
even our toys died. Childhood's end. But yeah, Avatar. So back in that era, we're talking about 3D, mostly the 3D copycats, but truly great 3D. The 3 movies I remember being absolutely enhanced and improved by 3D were Avatar, How to Train Your Dragon, and Tron Legacy. So I always loved How to Train Your Dragon. But
I don't know if I saw that one in 3D. I definitely saw Tron Legacy.
Universal Pictures has greenlit a new live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon. And I swear to God, Eric, if Johnny Plain himself does not just actually play his character from How to Train Your Dragon, I'm going to be super pissed.
Who doesn't?
Gerard Butler.
Oh,
Jerry B, Eric. Get with
Jesus.
And I gave you another clue, Johnny Plane.
Oh, yeah, Johnny Plane. That's what actually threw me the most. I was like, what's happening here?
Yeah, Johnny Plane and Mikey Train.
There's
or
obviously
Plane Train franchise.
There's the
actually it's Ship. Sorry, Mikey Ship.
Ship is going to be the sequel, right?
Ship.
Yeah, obviously, cynically, you can look at this and be like, oh, so Universal obviously seen all the money Disney has made and said we should try to make that money too. The thing that's most interesting is that Dean DeBlois, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, the co-writer, director,
he's the one who did all the movies. So yeah,
all three of the movies. He did the first one with Chris Sanders. He did 2 and 3 by himself. He is going to be making this movie. He'll be making his live action debut with this movie. So at least you can't be like, oh my God, they're like not even involving the creators. They are involving the creators. Now, that being said, of course, I understand that be like, why, what's wrong with How to Train Your Dragon? There's nothing wrong with it. They just want to make more money. But
I do not object to this at all, provided
it's
Jerry B. Gerard Butler plays the chieftain character stoic he played
Jerry
in...
B, your buddy Jerry B.
Jerry B, man. Geostorm's Jerry B.
I'm intrigued, but look, in general,
Thieves, Jerry B.
We've obviously in general have talked about how remakes can't ruin anything. But specifically, I remember arguing with someone I know about the Disney animation live action remakes of animated stuff, and because he was like, he's someone who can be like a very like going to extremes person in general anyway. So he's like, oh, it's like they're burying their past. I'm like, no, they're not. If you go to Disneyland right now, it's all the animated Beauty and the Beast. It's so on the most cynical side of it, it's like, hey, here's a way to make $1 billion, and then we'll just go back to the classic versions. Even when it's well received, it doesn't bury the original. It's just like another thing. So obviously Universal owns DreamWorks Animation outright now, and they're going to exploit that as well as they can. And there's going to be a lot more theme park rides and theme park lands. They announced, we didn't talk about how they announced a new Universal theme park in Texas.
In where, Eric?
Texas.
Where in Texas?
I forget. You're gonna...
Literally where I live in Frisco, Texas.
Oh, I did not know that.
It is right here. It is going to be right here, up by where the PGA has a golf course that's going up.
Okay, so a smaller family, younger themed theme park, and the art they put out of it makes it seem it's going to be in almost entirely, if not entirely, DreamWorks based. DreamWorks Animation based. So, they're going to do everything they can with that IP. It's does very well for them. How to Train Your Dragon is a great trilogy. He's a great filmmaker. Live action to animation. I mean, animation to live action. Sometimes that can be rocky. Sometimes it can be great. And we'll see what happens. But
that's the thing. It's a great movie, animated, and then it has a chance to be a great movie live action. And if it's not, again, the animated one exists and it doesn't trample. Even if the Skarsgård Crow movie is somehow great, which I doubt, just because it's so hard to recapture the essence of what made the first movie great at that era and the look and the time and all that stuff. But even if it's great, it doesn't erase the greatness of the old one.
Nope.
All right, people, stop it. Just stop it. I don't even know. They're with us. Our listeners are with us. I feel like we're not chastising you guys. It's those others. They, them, the others. We don't like them.
If you have civil disagreement, that's fine too.
Yeah, I guess so.
Sure.
Keep it civil. Keep it safe. Okay. We've got a bunch of MCU news. We're just going to sort of rattle through here because it's all tied. Well, it's all Feige Phase 4 next. He had a lot of quotes that got a lot of breakout articles for different news items.
He did a big interview. Just on transparently on our side of what we do. I've never so personally I can gripe a little bit. I've never interviewed Kevin Feige one-on-one. It's a very, very first world problem.
You interviewed the Kevin Feige AI bot that actually runs Marvel Studios?
I said one-on-one because I've done group interviews. I did a couple set visits where
that just sounds sexy.
Yeah. But I have noticed as someone who always wanted to interview him one-on-one that's probably not going to happen because he's doing less and less press as they go further, which is not shocking. Guy's busy. But he did a big interview with EW for Quantumania. while he wasn't doing a ton of other interviews. And yeah, that's where this sort of began what became like a few days of like, the let's change up the how much MCU we're getting.
So for our Hudson Hawk Patreon patrons out there, we will be doing a Quantumania breakout episode in a few days, so look for that. It'll drop into your Dropbox, and then we're thinking Sunday night at this point. So yeah, give everyone this first weekend at least to get through it. Obviously, we're not spoiling anything. We're not forcing spoilers on you. You have to actively listen.
Yes, we will spoil it on that episode.
We will, obviously. We'll
You've
go
been
all the way
forewarned,
through it.
and we'll forewarn you.
But it won't be in the title. Like
no.
Okay, so originally some of this news may have been folded into that, but now we're just going to do it on this because it'll be a little late by then. So a lot of people were really excited about this first one, which is to say there's no news yet other than the writers have a story for Spider-Man, a fourth Spider-Man movie, which is kind of a like a doy hickey, things people don't say anymore type news. Is anyone re-signed? Is anyone attached to this? No, it's just the writers have what the story would be like for the next Spider-Man movie.
Again, waiting to see when Tom Holland will make an amazing amount of money for a new contract. It just hasn't happened yet.
And on top of that, there was some quotes about the Fantastic Four and how important they'll be going forward in the MCU, and they'll be like a pillar of it.
Lots of talk that they're going to be very like we'll hear casting soon as we keep hearing.
Apparently casting is underway this month, starting this month. And the rumors are they are starting with Sue Storm first, and then building the rest of the cast around Sue. Then Daredevil Born Again got some lip service from Kevin Feige about how, and this is very good to hear specifically because of how many episodes Born Again is. Because it's going to be the longest series by far of any, honestly, streaming series at this point, not just like Marvel Disney series. How many episodes?
18? It's 18 episodes. Yeah.
So it will embrace the episodic element of television. It won't feel like an 18-hour movie. Ridiculous to even think that it should. It will be episodic in a way that I think some of us wished She-Hulk were a bit more, or at least maybe we just wish there were more episodes of She-Hulk.
I thought there should have been a few more episodes.
Yeah, just a few more episodic episodes. Yeah, just spread that season out a little bit more. Because it was episodic. It just needed a longer season.
Because what he said was, in general, he said that they're looking at their series and seeing how can we do more standalone episode stuff and really embrace, basically music to Alan Sepinwall's ears. I know that because who's, often been a big rallier about the fact that, because we've complained too. It's like, we love a good cliffhanger. We love a good serialized drama. Just the way those Netflix shows in particular were built, where it was so nebulous, you could barely feel like you could define an episode.
And maybe you could. Maybe there was some episodic framework there or something that actually could sort of encapsulated a specific story in a way, but it was unnoticeable because you binge that shit like in a day or two. And
binge that shit, but also
it blended together, and
also they let the episodes go longer than they should. There was like a lot of bloat on those and stuff, and I'm talking about shows I loved. It's just when you look at them in totality. So him saying that is encouraging. Again, it's not. I don't think there's a world where there's like zero. And then he mentioned Born Again was a specific example he used of it. I don't think there's a world where there's going to be zero serialized element to Born Again.
No. What we consider episodic these days is episodic, but with a background story, like what X-Files started.
And Buffy was a big thing of this, more than X-Files, because X-Files was a little kind of haphazard, except
Buffy really introduced the big bad. Yes. I think that's where the term even came from.
It was said on the show, I believe. It was said by the characters, and the idea that here is this season's villain, and that storyline will always be percolating, and we'll have episodes that are kind of about that, but in between that, we can have these one-off adventures and stories happening, and. Yeah, with these Marvel shows, especially ones that have a spine that works so well for that, it's like why Jessica Jones could have done more actual detective cases, and Daredevil could have done, involved more both court cases, but also just like fighting supervillains. This sounds great for that. It's funny, Matt, because just a couple weeks ago I was having not a heated, he wasn't like coming at me like a super a-hole, but I was having a little bit of a debate with someone on Twitter because I mentioned about, I can't remember how it came up. I made a joke, but not about how I want to see Stiltman and Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah.
And I started, and a guy came back at me who wants, it to be gritty, like, dark and gritty. And he would not want Stiltman because that is not dark and gritty. And we went back and forth a little bit. We also were having a little bit of a debate. It turned into about the idea of like, he's like, yeah, but I want this show to like, Kingpin versus Daredevil. But I'm like, but there's 18 episodes. Like, it can't only be like
because he's used to him being Kingpin versus Daredevil for literally two seasons of a 3-season show.
Yes, yeah.
Every episode was Kingpin versus Daredevil, and he just wants more of that.
I have a feeling this is going to be more of a Buffy-esque thing where, of course, he'll be the main threat, and he might not be the only threat because he can have people working for him and whatnot. But maybe I don't know if there would be. There could be a Stiltman episode because it's like
and here's the egg on my face. I was even thinking in my head, oh, this would be a great way to get Typhoid Mary onto the show, and I realized that they did Typhoid Mary in Iron Fist. Yeah, it's just drew a complete blank on that whole show. So anyway, and so keeping with that theme, Feige also mentioned perhaps the slowing down and more eventizing, and making sure that the Marvel series on Disney Plus have room to breathe more, because that was a criticism of Phase 4 is how many shows we got in such a short period of time. It was just
shows and movies
in just a 2-year period, sort of all crammed in.
Yeah,
that it just became, and we've talked about like people who aren't giant super duper uber marks like you and me. Like, it becomes homework after a while, and if you miss something and it connects to a movie, and then you just start resenting the whole thing, and then you get backlash. Yeah. And I think some of that is spilling out over into stuff like Quantumania and other things, and like it only adds to superhero fatigue. But the element, because we're talking even what's supposed to come before Born Again is Echo, but now the only shows guaranteed to really air this year with no release date
THR did an article separate from Feige's EW interview.
Is that Secret Invasion is still supposed to happen in the spring, and then the summer is supposed to be Loki season 2. But after that, there could be none, or there could be another. Nothing's for sure. It's certain. Originally, Echo was also supposed to be this summer.
Echo, and this year was going to be Echo, What If season 2, and I think Agatha was going to be this year as well at one point. And so and then they also mentioned Ironheart, because Ironheart and Echo are totally filmed. So it's like they've got two shows.
Like, that's the thing, you have them sitting there, but like, you need to learn to space it out, to just for the sake of like not saturating your own product too much.
Yeah, I totally get it, because look, I for many years of my life, I would get Marvel comics every single week. So me personally, it wasn't too much. But of course I understand that, for a lot of people,
you and I are willing to take the hit of fewer series and movies for the sake of the greater good, and like getting more people, like not like no Marvel fan left behind, right? Like don't like get everyone on board that you can, get everyone on fill all cars of the train.
And it was notable. Now we're in mid-February, and we still hadn't gotten any release. Secret Invasion has been the one we've heard for a while will be the next one to debut, and it was like, the further we get into the year and we're not getting a release date, that did stand out. So I totally think this makes sense. And it was funny because some people were like, "Oh, they're more of undoing Chapek." I'm like, well, not really, because it was under Iger. Look, this was all about Disney Plus's launch and the whole like, all these big studios being like we need as much marquee content as we can get for our big streaming services. And for Disney, that was telling Feige, we need a shitload of shows. We don't want to just start making shows. We want to make a bunch of shows. And we need to pump them out. And now they're backing off of that, which is all fine by me. The only thing I don't want Disney to do that the others have done, and I don't think they will, knock on wood, is say, and we're taking all those shows off Disney Plus. Like, no longer will Moon Knight, Hawkeye.
What is the point? Like, honestly, like with Arrested Development leaving.
Yeah.
Netflix, the original Fox seasons. Like, what's the point of streaming services anymore?
Well, it's the original Fox seasons and the 2 that they produced.
That's
They're all
even
leaving.
worse.
They're
That's
all
even
leaving.
dumber.
They're all leaving.
Dumber. What's the point of a streaming service?
But it's like Marvel, the show's leaving, which is that, you know, it's much like now they're going back to Disney because of course 20th Century Fox is now owned by all the stuff is owned by Disney. I mean, yeah, it's like all the show, everything that was made by an outside studio for Netflix, I'm sure had contractually built in. This is only a certain amount of time before, you know, we have a chance to get it back. And you know, we'd already seen Hemlock Grove,
and they all signed those because Netflix by this point probably figured would have fully replaced television in general.
Yeah. Like where will you go?
Thing.
Where will you go?
Yeah, without us? Nowhere, man. It'll just be Netflix.
Right.
No way the other studios are gonna like compile like circle the wagons and control their own IPs.
Right. And take their shit away from us.
Yes.
We're the only game in town. Yeah. So I'm totally fine with the slowing down thing. I understand why it makes sense and why it's going to probably help with some perception. Just leave it all on Disney Plus. And right now, I think that hopefully that will stop. I'm also fine, by the way. I don't give a shit if they decide it's non-exclusive, you know, and are like, hey,
it could be somewhere else. Right.
It could be somewhere else. Just also leave it, which they're, you know, like Paramount does this all the time. Like stuff Paramount owns, like Frasier and Cheers, has been on Paramount Plus while also being on other streaming services. So it's all fine. So yeah, we heard that. And then today we got one official announced delay, but it was on the movie side.
That's right. So officially, and this adds to like basically making it now with the delay, they've moved the Marvels from July to November. Does that mean that there are only 3 movies this year?
Well, there was already going to only be 3 movies this year.
Oh, so there was nothing slated for November already.
There was a movie slated for the end of the year.
Blade?
It was Blade.
Yes.
And okay, I will say, I'm going to pat myself on the back here and say, I called this for a while, that this was very likely, even before anything about Marvel, simply because 2 things that happened in the last few months, which is, Disney finally relinquished the fact that there was not going to be a new Star Wars movie for this December because they were holding that date for Rogue Squadron, and they finally took it off the schedule. And then Blade wasn't going to be ready, and they delayed that a year. And suddenly I was like, wait, there's no live action, because they have Wish, which is their big animated, their 100th ever, you know, the 100th anniversary animated movie, but there was no like big live action movie from Disney after summer. And I was like, that's impossible. They won't do that. So it's either something's got to be delayed or something's got to move earlier, like Snow White or something scheduled for next year. And the Marvels to me always seem like an obvious possibility to be delayed, simply because it was, you know, coming 2 months after
2 months
Guardians.
after Guardians.
Yeah. And then on top of that, we hear they've decided they want to spread out the Marvel stuff more. It just makes a lot of sense, because now there won't be this giant gap between the Marvels and Captain America next year, which there was going to be like a much longer gap. So yeah, them delaying that. Yes, mostly I get to gloat that I was predicting it a lot on Twitter, but also totally makes sense to me. And it had a cool poster they put out with the new release date.
They were all on it.
They're all on it. All the Marvels.
All the Marvels.
You know what else I saw on Twitter, Matt?
What else did you see?
I saw people saying how woke this movie's going to be because it's about 3 women.
Oh, man.
That's pretty woke. 3 women?
3 women?
Maybe.
Look.
How are they going to fight
2
guys?
Give me 2 women.
Yeah,
2 women
is
my
a guy on the team. If there's not a guy on the team, it's going to be super woke, Matt. That's very obvious. How do they deal? Like, how do these people retroactively deal with like Charlie's Angels or anything? Like, it was so woke.
It's so woke to have, and you don't even see that Charlie. Like, what? You can't see a man. It's too scary. It's Charlie with all his alpha maleness.
How do we exist with these
people? People are insufferable. Everyone is terrible. Everything is awful. I hate. As I gesture vaguely to everything. Everything is terrible. Okay.
Yeah, but we're cool with these spreading things out.
But you know what's great? This week's The Last of Us, which airs just a few days. So some people will listen to this after it airs, some people won't. Surprise, surprise, it's still great. Okay. Did you watch it yet? The new one?
I actually haven't even seen episode 5. It was a whole deal. I have the screener for 6, but first I gotta watch episode 5.
Oh, you have to go back and watch 5.
Yeah.
I see how you're working.
I'll catch up.
Is it because of the colonoscopy?
No, but it was, I can't remember what was going on. There was some reason.
You do hate mushrooms, so like maybe you
hate mushrooms.
Maybe it's just like, and it's a very mushroom heavy episode. So. Okay,
at least they're the villains.
That's true. You're like, they know their place. You're like, I know what destroys.
Well, the people making this show understand the threat.
This food. So yes, we are on Twitter at the Matt Fowler, the Eric Goldman We Enjoy podcast, and then you can go on Patreon and become a subscriber on 2 of our levels. The higher level gets you bonus episodes like the Quantumania one.
Bring me higher level. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what Steve Winwood was singing about.
Our Patreon, yes.
Yeah, he predicted the future. We have an update on Joe, who wrote into Patreon last week about his, or actually not last week, but a few weeks ago, but we got to it last week, where he was going to Disney World. Right. Asked for recommendations, and he didn't. We didn't know if we'd already missed him going to Disney World because he didn't tell us when he was going.
Yeah,
he wrote in and said, "Hey guys, unfortunately, I got back from Disney World on Friday and didn't have time to watch Rocky Balboa until Sunday. But the last thing I did before I got going to the airport was waking up at 7 a.m. to reserve lightning passes for the Guardians Cosmic Rewind. I think that was actually the best ride we did all week. I should have been more descriptive about the parks I would visit in the message. We had park hopper passes and the lightning lane. We spent a day at Universal Studios 2, which has a far superior express pass system. So we rode everything.
Yes.
Sometimes it's better to be Pepsi than Coke. Actually, Joe, when I was there last time, our flight got delayed by 2 days because of the weather. So I went to Universal Studios as well on the spare day. So you can mix and match. You can do whatever you want down in Orlando. It's Florida. There are no rules as far as I know down there. So
right.
It's a lawless land filled with barbarian people. So
I will be returning to Orlando soon for a ride called Tron that I'll be checking out.
God damn you.
Which I'm excited for.
And but Tron wasn't Test Track originally supposed to be Tron?
When Test Track got closed to be renovated and changed, like they did a big image overhaul, it so evokes Tron, and if you look at the timing, the rumor is it was going to be Tron themed, and then Tron Legacy not being the huge success they wanted, they backtracked from that. It's very easy to believe, even if it's not true, just because of the imagery of it, and you can see how
the weird thing is like, it's fun. Actually, Test Track is fun, but like, how many people walking around Epcot know what it is or that it's a ride? Like, if they said like, "Hey, Tron Racers" or something like over here, everyone would be like, "Hey, let's do that." But like, you see Test Track, and you're like, "I don't know what that is."
I mean, it does fine. It does well.
How do you know? What are the metrics? What is Netflix?
I mean,
saying?
I see a wait for it. I see lines. There's people there.
There's lines for everything.
Yeah, but they figured it out. So everything's fine.
All right. I guess I can stop worrying about.
But I've been to Super Nintendo World now a couple times.
You've been there twice now, and it only opened yesterday.
I know I did. I walked by Chris Pratt in the store with his son, who was there for the opening event. My coworker talked to Brie Larson about the really cool Mario Kart popcorn bucket.
I saw Brie Larson walking through there on her Instagram videos. Yeah.
I did not see her. I didn't know she was there until my coworker texted me that she saw her. I knew Chris Pratt and Keegan-Michael Key were there because they're in the movie. So obviously it's like there was synergy to have them there. That main ride is really fun, but it's kind of overwhelming the first time you ride it because on one hand it's like a cool, fast-paced dark ride where they built really cool sets, except that you're wearing this visor that has projected your opponents in Mario Kart you're playing against, and you can shoot. The whole thing is like you are playing Mario Kart. So it's almost like, wait, but I want to look at these guys I'm supposed to be shooting at with shells, but I also want to look at these cool sets. It's almost like you have to ride it twice because you have to focus.
Oh, it's almost like that's how they get you.
That's how they get you.
It's kind of like Guardians having like 5 or 6 songs because it's like, I want to keep going back and getting a different one.
I know. I mean, Guardians here at Anaheim has like different things you see depending on when you ride it. So
you mean the breakout?
Yeah, like you see different actual scenarios. With the characters.
All right. Michael has also written in on Patreon. This one is about Rocky Balboa, the movie we did last week in the main event. And Michael writes, the thing I always appreciated about this movie was that they faithfully recreated all the sports aspects as if they were really happening at the time. The ESPN and HBO branding, chyrons, transitions, etc., were all exactly what they would have looked like if this event had happened in the mid-aughts. Unfortunately, that extended to the personalities as well, because guys like Max Kellerman, Larry Merchant, and Burt Sugar were as insufferable on actual boxing coverage as they were in the movie. I don't notice that stuff. I guess maybe if it was someone like Michael Cole, I would complain about some of his calls for wrestling. But yeah, they seem like boxing announcers to me. So
although this reminds me that one thing I forgot to mention, that because we don't follow this stuff, we wouldn't recognize any of those guys. But the person I forgot to mention that I did recognize in that movie was Mason Dixon's promoter, who's kind of like a sleazy promoter.
Oh yeah. With the stubble.
Played by AJ
right?
Benza. The notorious gossip columnist, and like an early kind of like, I'll go to any lengths to get the scoop.
The scoop. He even had a hat with the scoop tag tucked into the band of the fedora. To let people know he was a journalist.
A scooper.
All right. What are you, some kind of scooper? All right, Eric, what is your good thing to enjoy?
I was thinking about what I should recommend, and I realized I'll be a little kind of oddly specific, because I'm going to recommend Star Trek Picard Season 3, which just premiered this week. The season premiere is now on Paramount Plus.
Now, I'm just going to ask you, Eric, because I think we've talked about it a few times on the podcast, because Picard's been around for a year, over a couple years now, because it's had 2 seasons. I watched the first season, did not watch the second, which I heard was not very good. I had issues with the first season.
Yes.
Enough so that I didn't want to even like it. I wasn't like a P1. It wasn't a priority to go to season 2 for me. Can people just go into season 3?
That's what I think ultimately they can, because there is minutia they might not exactly follow. There's one character, if say, because of course, like, look, the selling point for season 3 is everyone from the Next Generation is on it. That, the entire main cast, who we've had a couple of in previous seasons reprising their roles, but this time, for the first time since Star Trek Nemesis, everyone is back. First, let me get out of the way the full disclosure of anything I recommend about this show, which is that the showrunner, Terry Matalas, I've known him forever. We went to college together, so I've known Terry for a long, long time. So bias. Anyway, but he worked on season 2, which I can openly criticize. He also
ate our last piece of pizza. No,
he also ate.
No, he ate our first piece of pizza. Which was almost worse. Because we had ordered pizza to watch the Seinfeld finale, and he popped over, and he it wasn't for him, the pizza.
No,
he wasn't. I don't even think he was staying for it, and he just was like, and he even said, he's like, well, I guess I'm just gonna be the asshole, like take a piece of pizza or something, something like that. And he just ate the pizza.
And that is
anyway, my point is, I hope there's a scene like that in season 3 of Picard.
It's very heavily based on that. Picard, since you didn't watch season 2, Matt, each season has been drastically different. Like season 2, there was a lot of change ups behind the scenes on this show, and they're trying to course correct, and you could feel that. And to season 2 is pretty damn different from season 1. Some of the characters stuck around, but it still was a very different story. It didn't work, the story of season 2. This season, there's a couple of returning characters from the past, but 90% of it is the Next Generation crew and 7 of 9, who has been on the whole series.
Yeah.
But obviously is a popular character in her own right. If you were into Trek, you already know who she is. So my long answer to your question is, I think you can watch this without having seen the first 2 seasons. They give you
more
enough.
Importantly, Eric, can I watch this having not seen the second season?
No, yeah, I think you can. Okay. It's fine. It's really good. It's like, I've seen the first 6 episodes, which is what they sent to critics. And I think they knew, even them doing that was a big, because they knew that the way people received the first 2 seasons. So they wanted to get this out there to people. And I think that they were right to. It's very satisfying, and everything you can see, like, is it fan surfacey? I suppose it is by its very existence and by its fact that it's like, hey, we're gonna get the gang back together. We're gonna really, and Terry's talked about how he wanted to kind of make this into a farewell. Yeah, he did dare say a movie, but he said basically the farewell movie they didn't get because Nemesis just the Nemesis came out, it wasn't well received. It also opened against one of the Lord of the Rings movies, didn't do that well, and that was kind of it for that crew. And to give them like a better sort of final mission, them all together.
It's their
again.
Dexter New Blood. It's their
Dexter New Blood.
Their do over.
Yeah. And it's really good on that. There's a lot. I was very pleasantly surprised that I just didn't know the details. Jonathan Frakes is very much like front and center. It's like him and Picard, like right from the get. Other characters kind of slowly come into the story. Beverly Crusher's there from the beginning, but in a different way. But Frakes is there. It's like him and Picard, getting to see, Picard and Riker working together. He's been directing so much, including on this series, besides a couple of little guest appearances. But this is the most he's acted for quite a while, and he's really great.
Two guys pushing. Yeah.
Two guys pushing. They do a lot of fun callbacks to the past, references. I did text Terry and say, you owe me because
I thought you were gonna say you owe me a piece of pizza.
I said you
he
owe
just
me
walks in, he's eating pizza, he's like, oh, Seinfeld finale. Heard this sucked. Anyway, bye guys.
Terry, who's been a huge Star Trek fan, way more than I've ever been a Star Trek fan, and got his start in his career working as like a PA and whatnot on Voyager, I believe, a little bit, and then Enterprise. I took him to see Star Trek First Contact. A group of people from the dorm, because I could take them all to see it early because the movie theater I worked at was going to show it to run the print in the middle of the night.
No, as a former movie theater manager, it's how I watched Serenity and how I watched a lot of
And I went out into my dorm, a very college thing to do when time has no meaning and who cares if you don't sleep, and said, it was like 10 at night, and said, who wants to go watch Star Trek First Contact at 2 a.m?
That sounds so exhausting right now.
And Terry materialized in front of me because he was so excited. Anyway, I said to him, you owe me, because they use as part of the main theme for the credits this season the great Jerry Goldsmith Star Trek First Contact.
Oh, it's so good, that theme,
which is one of the best like Star Trek musical themes. So I said, do you owe me money for that? Can we figure out how you owe me money for that?
Man, anyway, that's good to hear, because I want to watch this, but I don't have the will or the time to go through what is supposed to be a subpar season of Picard.
You're good. You're fine. This you can tell that this exists in its own realm. They didn't want to ignore what happened in the other two seasons, but they didn't want to dwell on it either. It's very
God, it will still bug me to skip that season though, but whatever.
I just had a very similar conversation with Trish, because Mandalorian season 3 is coming and she hasn't seen Book of Boba Fett, and she knows it's not that well received. And I said, well, Trish, you could really just jump into like the last 3 episodes. I think you're good. But she had the same struggle of like,
it's hard. It's hard. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
But glad to hear that this is really good. And I was hoping, because again, you don't want to come back and have another poorly received giant reunion. Just do
no
over again, right?
This is good stuff. So it's on Paramount Plus, and you can watch it by itself, or you can watch the first 2 seasons if you decide to be a completist. There you go.
All right. My recommendation is a TV series, also in the revival game going on here, which is the new Night Court. The new Night Court, everyone. This, I guess I'm giving a caveat here at the top, which is to say, this isn't breaking any molds. This isn't changing the game. This isn't shifting the paradigm on the comedy front. This is empty calories, comfort food comedy. Kind of like what the original Night Court was, which I fucking loved. Night Court, for those who don't know, was a series on NBC that ran from, I think, like 84, 85 to the early 90s. Ran for like 8 or 9
part of a crazy, like, successful lineup on NBC. But it's so funny to say the least lauded, even though John Larroquette won multiple Emmys. But it was still kind of the least attention was paid to Night Court.
Before like Seinfeld and Friends, this
Yes.
comedy block was huge for NBC, but Night Court was sort of
and because because all four were good and hits, unlike Friends and Seinfeld, where they were propping up the two shows that would air in between them.
Yeah.
This time it was just like, nope, only good hits.
Night Court was the most juvenile of them, and that's why it sort of was. I think it actually also went on last.
It did. It was Cosby Show. The order was Cosby Show, Family Ties, Cheers, Night Court. That's the way you'd watch them in.
And man, Night Court was kind of an outlier in its style of comedy compared to those other ones, which are much more traditional sitcom, which isn't to say Night Court isn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is now a revived show, and John Larroquette is back. Multi-Emmy winner John Larroquette, who won the Emmy for supporting actor in a comedy series 4 years running for his portrayal of Dan Fielding, of Assistant District Attorney Dan Fielding, who, okay, looking back in the lens of 2023 now, was a sex pest. He was a basically a lech, somebody who was constantly hitting on Marky Post's character or a lot of female characters on the show, but also like going forward on the series was somebody who's just like kind of like into kink and bondage and being dominated, and like as the series went on, it like opened up his like sexual closet, which was like very weird. He's also a very sarcastic misanthrope. So in the new series, that's what they lean into, which is that he is old and he still hates people. The twist being is that he is brought back to his old job by the daughter of Harry Anderson's character, Judge Harry Stone, played by Melissa Rauch, who is also an executive producer on the show. Those who don't would know her from Big Bang Theory. And she is playing Harry Stone's daughter and sort of reaches out to Dan Fielding and brings him back, but this time, Eric, as the defense attorney.
Yes.
And so he has to sort of learn to actually like and maybe possibly empathize with people. And it has a very fun supporting cast, including India de Beaufort as the ADA, who was one of my early on IGN interviews for Crodman Dune, Eric.
We both interviewed her for Crodman.
Crodman Dune. And the
I
flaming
interviewed her in
sword
New York
of
Comic
something
Con
or
for
other.
Crodman Dune, yes.
And Kapil Talwalkar, and then also Lacreta as the goofy bailiff Gurgs, Donna Gurganos. So anyway, are there episodes that I watch of this show that where maybe I don't even really laugh that much? Yeah, because it's Night Court, Eric. It's like it's just there and it's fun. And Larroquette is still great. And he's really tall, and Melissa Rauch is really short, and there's a tally shorty dynamic to it that's really silly. And I just dig it, and I watch it on Peacock. You can obviously watch it on NBC itself. It was actually a pretty big hit for them when it came back, so it's already been picked up for a second season. And it just works. It's the same vibe as the original Night Court. One of the episodes did make me cry. I'll say that. It hit me right in the feels, as kids would have said 13 years ago. But yeah, I like it. If you like the original Night Court, I highly recommend it. I have to say this, Eric. I was a fan of the original Night Court. I really liked it. You know who else was a fan of it? And who I bonded with over our mutual respect and adoration for Night Court?
Terry Matalas.
Your nemesis, Steve Milan. Here's what happened, Eric. You fled. You left town.
I did.
You left me with this guy. I had to make peace with him somehow. So we had nothing to do but talk about how silly Dan was on last week's Night Court.
Well, that's nice. I've seen the first couple episodes of the show, and I enjoyed it as well. And I actually wanted us to mention on previous episodes, and I kept forgetting to put it down, what a success it was and its quick renewal. Just very notable because it was one of those ones where a lot of people, you do not know with these revivals, and especially Night Court being one of those shows that really has no meaning to like a younger audience. It's not readily available on streaming, and it wasn't like a show.
Yeah, it's on Freevee, Eric. You can watch all 9 seasons, or 8 seasons on Freevee.
Not a show that there's like any sort of following for, or seemed like that was really like sticking around with like a new generation. So very notable that it was so successful, and made me think like, wow, because it was a big success on NBC, and then it does well on Peacock. And I'm like, oh man, maybe this could have been where like Saved by the Bell could have been a success if they hadn't gone all in on Peacock, as if they'd aired it first on NBC,
right, on an actual network.
Yeah,
that show's so good. But yeah, so I think there's only 10 episodes in this first season, and maybe 10 in the second. I don't know, but it's not like a full network season. And 6 episodes have aired so far. I was behind on 2, so right before this podcast, I just watched the most recent 2, and I enjoy it. It's my comfort. It's my stories, and I like the cast. And I think it does a really good. I think it does a good revival job.
Yep. It's and yeah, ultimately it's a legacy sequel or requel because Larroquette's there as the representative, just like Rocky Balboa,
just like what we've been doing on this podcast. So yeah, that's what I recommend. I also recommend the original Night Court on Freevee. Just watch the original one too. Very good. So, all right, let's get into Creed, Eric. Obviously, next week, Creed 2, and that is also available the same way that Creed was available, which is via DirecTV's subscription that allows you access to Turner apps, or renting it. So I have not seen Creed 2. I think I previously mentioned that, so I will. Obviously, something I should and need to see before I watch Creed 3 in a few weeks. So, all right, Creed, Eric, motherfucking Creed. What a fan-fucking-tastic movie this is. It's just so well done, and the script is so great. The score is great, like the original score. Not, obviously they bring back the Rocky theme at a certain point in the movie, but like the score is great. The way Ryan Coogler has this movie shot, like the way the fights are shot, like with sort of like in the ring with them, 360 circling them style. Everything is way more immersive. Like even at the end when you like walk into the ring with him and you're like, sort of following him, like you're part of his entourage, like part of his team, right behind Rocky and Creed. Like so good, like the way he immerses you in this. And as a legacy sequel, it just really does well by the old characters and the new characters.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because this is Coogler, I still need to see Fruitvale Station. But this was only his second movie. He's only made 4 movies so far.
It is, and 2 of them have been giant Marvel movies. So
but this was like, his big step up from like a small acclaimed indie to like a, big studio franchise movie, and it was a huge hit, and then he got the Marvel stuff. But he's so talented, and this movie, like I've seen this movie a few times, but it's been a while. I think probably the last time I saw this movie was before Creed 2 came out. And rewatching it, I was like, oh yeah, of course, the single take of the first fight. Everyone was talking about that. That's so good.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
The one for his first one. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
And you mentioned the score, and it's Ludwig Göransson, who is his collaborator on everything he does, and of course is now very acclaimed for an Oscar winner for his Black Panther scores and The Mandalorian. Everyone knows his music from that as well. Although he goes back. He was the composer for Community and Happy Endings back in the day, doing great scores for.
So
I know. Anyway, lots of great elements here, and even though it's funny because we talked about you kind of were previewing last week how this is Adonis Creed's story, and Rocky is a supporting character here, and so still on his second build. But once he comes into the story, like he gets certainly a lot of great stuff.
It completes and rounds out Rocky's story in a way that a lot of other movies that were centered on Rocky couldn't even do. Like it gives him so much more texture. Like now, because even the last movie, Rocky Balboa, which I thought was pretty good, I know you liked it a lot more than me. Still was like he was dealing with loss in that movie, and yet still in this movie, they found a new avenue into where he's at with his loss in his life.
Oh yeah, they keep making me cry.
This movie just makes me cry like every 10 minutes, and
it's good stuff.
For some reason, Stallone also looks better than he did back in the first Rocky. Maybe it's just the way he's actually lit and shot, and his eyebrows don't look as bizarre.
Well, I also think it might, not to dig too deep into whatever he was doing cosmetically, but he does look better in this film. It's funny because I remember when this movie opened, it opened like 2 weeks apart from Force Awakens, and I just remember thinking how amazing it was that we had these 2 series going back to the 70s that were coming out with 7th movie, and with like we're still the same continuity, with some of the same actors, just it's a rarity, but it's becoming less of a rarity because like then you'd get Halloween and other stuff that started to embrace this. But I think those two series still kind of stand very tall for being able to do that and sort of go the distance in the way they've done.
Go the distance, just like Adonis Creed does.
Yes.
Go for it. You might say he went for it.
Yes, I might.
It opens with and without like movies like this, and I obviously Cobra Kai is a different tone. It balances comedy and drama, but like it does very similar things to what this movie does. Like the Legacy sequels, like this is one of the ones that kind of really perfected that the elements that we love about what you can do, bringing in old and new, finishing off, redeeming old arcs and stories in ways that maybe the original franchise didn't do, and like this is your chance to do it while introducing new elements that just add to the mosaic. Just great stuff. It opens in 1998, and it's sort of like we don't know what we're stepping into at this point. And it's just a great opening scene because we got some obviously recasting. We've got Felicia Rashad of the already mentioned Cosby Show on this podcast, famous for that series and other things, and from theater and a lot of stuff.
As the third actress to play Marianne Creed.
To play Marianne Creed, widow of Apollo Creed. But as we would find out, very interestingly, yes, not Adonis's mother.
Yeah.
And so, but she has come in to rescue him from his life of foster care and being in this juvenile detention center for being a very angry young boy. And this is sort of what fuels him. Interestingly, very specifically during parts of this story, not as just somebody who like has a temper and will punch someone, because that comes up every now and again. But like in a few scenes from now, he's watching the second fight, the Super Fight 2 Rocky 2 between Apollo and Rocky, and he's Rocky. Yeah. Right? Like how interesting is that? He's fighting his father. Like how angry he's angry at him. Like it's so crazy, right? Like
it was really good conceptually because like obviously, the first conception and pitches of this movie, it's like someone would have been, I can't remember, I haven't read the exact story behind it, but someone going, hey, what if you did a movie about Apollo Creed's son? Oh, that could be interesting. Now here's the funny thing is, you look back on the Rocky movies, Apollo had two kids, a son and a daughter, who are not mentioned in this movie, which is fine. Sometimes you have to it's like you just kind of have to realize they did things to stream, like they can exist. It's just that like, the story, like there's certain reasons why you leave things out just because it makes it more complicated if you deal with the fact that he has these half siblings. Because the story, if it had been about just like Apollo's son that was a little kid in the Rocky movies, well, that's a very different story about a kid who like grew up with his dad for a few years and his dad died, always knew privilege. This is interesting how it's like a kid who grew up with a very troubled life, first few years in and out of juvie and foster homes, and never knew his dad. And then, yes, he's taken in by Marianne and raised with a lot of money from like when he's like, 12 or whatever. But he would still have this background before that. And I think that's a clever thing to do rather than just be like, it's Apollo.
Well, later on when he's talking to Conlon and being like, Conlon's talking about his like poor roots is like, my father worked in the mines or something. Where it's like, where he's Hollywood, because he has the name, but like, little does anyone know like how he was actually spent like the first decade of his life. It's interesting. And again, I presume because of the way you're talking about it going forward, the siblings don't play into things going into the next movie, but they could have, they still could have brought them in and said like, hey, they would have been older and he would have brought in and like, maybe was brought in, but he wasn't brought in with like maybe the love and care and affection like Marianne did well by him, but like, wanted to just steer him and mentor him, but maybe, wasn't completely maternal with him.
Right. It's not Marianne's story, obviously.
No.
But there's interesting things to think about there where it's like, he is the product of an affair her husband had. Her husband who horribly died. But she's chosen to like take this kid in,
But man, let's talk about some of the Marianne aspects here. All the things that we wanted to sort of like be present to give Rocky IV more heft, like the guilt, and like even Marianne saying like how Rocky hadn't even spoken to her spoken to her or met her since that funeral day that we saw in that movie,
where he gave a good speech. Yeah.
And so but him talking about the guilt and like Adonis being angry at Rocky and saying you killed my only real family, and Rocky saying like I should have thrown in the towel, I should have, that comes out in this movie finally, like the stuff that we wanted from Rocky 4 that movie didn't have time for because there were Survivor songs to play,
and montages to have,
montages to montage. So
it's fascinating, right? Because taking like a movie has like surface and silly as Rocky 4 and giving it this retroactive weight. We'll talk next week about Creed 2. I won't say anything, until you see it, Matt, but it's not a secret that like, the Drago thing comes back into play there, but it was just interesting with both these movies, but just starting out with this one, if there hadn't even been a Creed 2, like if you're going to have Apollo's son, well, then you're going to talk about Apollo's death. Apollo's death happened in a very silly part of this series, but it was still Apollo dying. So gives it so much more heaviness. And Rocky bringing up all that stuff. And
even during the final fight, when he's like, I'm going to throw in the towel. I should have done it for your father. Like even that, it really lights the way through this whole story. And then, so we've got, so it's interesting, like basically when Donnie's like, what was his name? And they say in the Creed letters just pop up. Yeah. Actually, Donnie doesn't say that, but like the Creed letters pop up really huge, sort of like in the way Rocky used to. But then it goes right into Mexico. So we jump ahead almost 20 years, and he's just, the anger is coming out of him, fighting like south of the border and raising money to also try to pay Duke's son to train him. Little Duke. That's The Wire is Wood Harris and Dread's Wood Harris.
His name is not said on screen, but his credited as Tony Little Duke Evers.
Little Duke Evers. So he gets, so it's funny because he's Tony Jr. technically.
Yeah.
But he also not only does he get the first name, but he gets the nickname. He's Duke Jr. too, Little Duke. Yeah. You don't Tony usually Jr. also get the nickname. So but he goes to he quits his job, his office job. So he's got like a job so it's interesting to see him at this financial group, which I assume also was Rocky Jr.'s job-ish back in Rocky Balboa when Milo Ventimiglia was playing him. He was in sort of the same situation.
Yeah.
And so the thing said about Robert doesn't appear in this movie, but it's another sad element that like even what happens at the end of Rocky Balboa, when it seemed like they reconciled, they still wound up being estranged. And basically when Donnie talks about not wanting to use the Creed name, Rocky understands that because of what he's gone through, what his son had to go through living in his shadow. And it's so there's a beat there that's so well done. Mm-hmm. If you know all the movies that came before it, specifically Rocky Balboa, that just plays so well, and you feel sad because it's like the way he says, he's like, yeah, he lived in Vancouver, and I'm happy for him, but it's sad. It's really sad what he's saying. You get the feeling that they really don't talk at all, and there's a little line in there about how like I tried to teach him to fight, and he wasn't into it,
right?
Which is something we never really saw.
I mean, we saw him try to self-train in Rocky 5.
We never. But then, but with Donnie, we see him walk out of his job to become a fighter.
Yeah,
and so it's very much the opposite of what Robert's path was as his son. So right there, you have a surrogate son for Rocky. Even somebody who was going to be the son that he wanted to. The path he maybe wanted for his son, as much as he and Adrian were saying, like, use your brain. You don't want to be a fighter. This is his second round as a father. So and I'll just
with a better than Tommy the Machine Gun.
Oh God, that rip. Okay. What are we doing? Oh yeah. So
I just want to
interesting. It's interesting to see. Yeah. Go. What do you want to say?
I was just going to say we were talking about Little Duke for a minute ago. That I just want to say that again, Coogler so self-assured, the direction's so good, and even just again because I hadn't seen this movie in a little while, I forgot. Oh yeah, what a great stylistic choice the on-screen stats of anyone he faces.
Oh yeah.
So when he
Yeah.
goes into Little Dukes and he's like starting shit with people, and he fights two guys, one whom he creams, the other guy who beats his ass. Getting like those on-screen like.
Well, let's talk about Donnie too, like because we saw him like totally annihilate someone down in Mexico, and then we saw him go through that first guy in the gym in the Delphi Boxing Academy, and then he gets laid out. So it's more evident as the movie goes on that he is self-taught and he doesn't know shit. Yeah. And so he basically he has to start from the basics. When he actually Rocky starts training him, he kind of like, because even he starts shadowing, like in Rocky 5. Rocky's not training him yet, so he's watching what Pete is doing with his son in the gym, and he's shadowing it, just like Rocky Jr. was doing when he was trying to fight bullies. You know what I mean? No one's going to train me. My dad's not going to train me, so I'm going to watch someone else train and just do
in that very building.
Yes, in that very building, Eric. So that's all we see of Little Duke, but it's fun. It's fun to see like the callbacks again. If you know who that character was in the movie, his name isn't said out loud. But then it's all about basically moving to Philly. He talks to Mary. He's like basically like she sees his black eye. She's very, very much against this. And she's like mentions things about like Apollo, where it's like I had to wipe his ass because he couldn't use his hands.
Get him up the stairs.
Yeah, all these things we never saw. Obviously.
No, because Marianne was never anything more than like a worried wife on the side. So yeah, like getting an idea of like, oh, this was her life. And then again, like bringing up like Apollo didn't get hurt, he got killed. Like the weight of this thing from Rocky 4 that like is very, very important to this new iteration of the series.
Well, the best parts of Rocky 4 are the first act, and the death of Apollo, and then it just doesn't capitalize the way it should have.
No.
So he goes to Philly. No one will train him.
The Rocky statue is back. We have to.
Is it in a different spot though? Or
well, it's in the real spot. I mentioned that. Yes. I thought in Rocky Balboa they just decided they didn't want to deal with the fact that they'd have to move that statue. So they just would say that.
So they had Paulie say like, "You mad they took it down or whatever."
Yeah, but now we can just decide that after he went the distance with Mason Dixon, they said, "You know what? You get it back, but just not at the top of the stairs." So
yeah, it's too dangerous. People are falling. And,
right.
So yeah, and then once we go into Philly, a lot of great establishing shots. You know, the camera works really cool here. It reminds me of a little Soderbergh, the way that he does stuff, and like out of what's the Clooney J-Lo movie? Why can't I think of this fucking movie?
Out of Sight.
Out of Sight. Yeah. I'm like out of time. That's Denzel Washington. Okay,
but also just like the fact that that statue bit aside. They're very good with like, honoring what came before. So yeah, like having Adrian still be a thing.
Yeah. So yeah, we see Adrian's I Love This Bar and Grill. Like it's great. And Rocky's there. He's still wearing the same hat. He's still doing the same thing, like loading.
No leather jacket now, but he's not wearing leather. He does have the hat still.
You assume that his routine's the same. He goes and gets all the produce and meats and stuff for the restaurant and loads it up. And he still doing well for himself, I guess, with this restaurant. I don't know whatever happened to what's her butt, Marie.
Yeah, we don't know. Again, there's stuff where I thought about that. I also thought about the fact that we never see the restaurant at night when it's fully open. But again, it's like you just think about how, from a movie standpoint, they need to keep this focused, so you don't deal with that. What was I going to say about Rocky? Keep going because I'll remember what I was going to say.
So Donnie goes to meet him in the restaurant. And
now there are pictures of Apollo that we see.
Yeah, now there's Apollo.
They were always there.
Archival.
We just couldn't see them.
Yeah, I know. And we did also get archival footage of him, and that whatever it is with man, I am having a hard time recalling things.
Carl
Weathers. They worked it out between Rocky Balboa and this movie.
Yeah. It was pretty important on this one. They show him, so they got that. And we get an answer.
I'm good. Out of sight, Carl Weathers. I got it.
we get an answer on who won the fight at the end of Rocky 3.
But was he telling the truth?
Or was he telling the truth? Well,
right.
We'll never know.
Yeah, but we did get an actual answer. So yeah, he starts saying very knowing things to him, like, how do you know about this stuff?
Mickey's death and Apollo training him.
So I heard there was a secret third fight, and Rocky says he won. And then this is when he basically
Rocky says Apollo won.
Yeah, no. He said he did, meaning Apollo did.
Yeah.
And he's like, I did. Obviously, I'm Rocky Balboa.
Also, I really like Rocky has some good lines here about when Adonis says, how did you beat Apollo? When he says time beat him, it takes everybody out. It's undefeated.
Yeah, there's some great lines in this movie, and they don't beat around the bush here. Like, he toys with Rocky for a little bit, pretending like he's just this guy off the street, something like that. But then eventually comes out, he's Creed's kid, and he's like, the guilt is there, and it's like, you owe me that. You should, and he says, I should have stopped it. And then Donnie's even like, maybe you did exactly what he wanted. And so he puts it out there that he wants to be trained. He doesn't want to do it. Obviously, Rocky always sort of resists it first, even, because we went through this with Tommy.
I remember what I was going to say, which we were talking about, like, we don't know if like Marie's still around or any of that stuff. The other thing that just a continuity question, it's fine. It's not like I'm mad they didn't answer, but I'm very curious rewatching these all in a row is, does Rocky still own Mickey's gym? Because it's so weird. In the fifth one, he totally reopens it and it's packed. In the sixth one, they walk by it at one point, and it's not clear if it's never open or it's just closed right now. But in this one, it's open, it's thriving. It's very possible Rocky does own it still, and like
Pete runs it. What's the actor's name who's from The Dark Knight and played the Chechen there, and he's been in a ton of things. He was on Happy on the series. I'm just I had the Creed Wikipedia page here, and now I can't find it. Anyway, does he like just like own it in name and like and other people manage it, and he's like, because he running that and the restaurant, you never know, because that's why it made sense in Rocky Balboa for him not to do both and the other one to look closed down. But it's revitalized, and we've got
new sign.
Richie Coster. Richie Coster is the actor's name.
And they finally have a new sign. Although it was nice to have the ever fading sign. It makes sense that at some point someone would be like, "All right, we need a new sign on this sign."
So at this point, it's the courtship of Rocky, as well as starting the courtship of Bianca, played by Tessa Thompson. And this is, we already mentioned him going back to his like rented place and watching the YouTube video of Super Fight 2 and shadowing Rocky's performance. But then he goes downstairs because someone's playing their music too loud, but he knocks on the door and it opens, and it's a beautiful young woman. And it's it turns into a meet cute.
These are two very beautiful people.
Yes. But, so another thing I, to appreciate about this movie is that there are, as much as things go differently, things go the same, which is to say there's another very endearing and effective courtship between two people meeting, like Rocky and Adrian, a new duo to go forward with this. And they both have their own individual things. And like, she's a musician and she's losing her hearing. And like, there's all these really very interesting and engaging specifics about them, and their love story works. And I'm just into it. Great actors.
And of course, it's always funny that because all roads lead to the MCU, that it's like the director of this movie and all the three of the leads are now part of the MCU. They've all, been,
I guess Stallone cameo wise, but
obviously the other two have had prominent roles, and they won't be the last actors we'll see in these movies.
we also got in the mix here is a Liev Schreiber narrated HBO style profile of Ricky Conlon.
Well, sticking to what I'm forgetting who wrote in, they mentioned that they liked the continuity of what would be right to hear in 2006, because Liev Schreiber actually does.
He does do the voiceover, so they had him do this
24/7.
So we learn basically our villain / not villain, our obstacle, our final boss of this movie, which is this British fighter who has a very interesting setup, which is that he is about to go into a 7-year prison sentence.
I'm not quite clear how this works, how he can like wait a few months to do this fight, but
I think he had like 6 months. I think it was like 6 months, but like they really do want to fight because his family will need this money while he's locked up. And whether he gets out in 4 years or 5 or something early, they still need this money. So they need a payday. And it was going to be with the guy that kicked Donnie's ass in LA, Danny Stuntman Wheeler. But then during the press conference, there's a brawl, and Conlon has a temper and breaks Wheeler's jaw. And so they are, much like in the first Rocky movie, with the opponent being injured, they need someone else really quickly, short notice. And who fits the bill the best? Like what's like a spectacle?
And it's like a funhouse mirror of the first movie, because in the first movie it's like, I will fight a nobody, and here it's like, oh, I will use the name value of a nobody, because the 1-2 punch of Rocky's his manager, because already what's his face who's running the gym is like, knows that Rocky being present at the fight will get attention. That's why he wants him to be there for.
But then right before the fight, he learns that he's
Apollo's son, and now that's a selling point of like, even though he doesn't have a big.
Yeah, I like your description of it being a funhouse mirror, because so he's still picking someone he thinks he can beat easily.
Yes.
B, he's picking him because of his name, though in the first movie, he picked him because he has a really interesting moniker. Right, like the Italian Stallion, he picked him out of a book just because of that name he gave himself.
Right.
Let's also mention here, we got a little bit of Rocky's background in Rocky 5 when he's talking to Tommy about like, at least you had a father or something, and we get a little bit more of that here too, which is like Rocky also, when he starts talking about how he knows the anger that Adonis has about like not having a father or having left or feeling abandoned, then we get more about like Rocky, his anger was driven by not having that father present, whether he left or he was killed or what happened.
And I like that we don't know the specifics, but I like that they picked up on that little thread.
Very good stuff.
Used it there.
And we get here also who plays Conlon, an actual fighter. Yes, it's good that they get these actual fighters, much like they did for Mason Dixon.
Which is the funny thing when they get the real life fighters is that they're nowhere near
as chiseled and in sculpted.
They're not Hollywood actor chiseled. They're just good fighters, who of course are strong as fuck. But it is funny, they don't look like cut from the stone, like these beautiful bodies.
playing Conlon's trainer is Graham McTavish, who people will know from Outlander and Preacher, and just even from House of the Dragon this past summer. So, who I wish had a better role on House of the Dragon, because he's a great actor, and that was kind of a thankless role. But
what was the role? I forget now.
He was head of the Kingsguard.
Oh, okay.
Who's there for a few episodes, but then winds up resigning. When they skip the line.
I remember that.
So anyway. Okay. Spoilers for House of the Dragon. Graham McTavish's character quits.
I quit.
No, you ruined the whole series. Okay. So, but and we still got Donnie like coming after him saying like, hey, you not want to train me, but just give me some drills. And there's a great scene where he writes down like some beginning training exercises, and he just takes a picture of it with his phone, and old man yells at Cloud. Literally, Rocky doesn't know what the Cloud is.
Also, this is when Donnie starts calling him Unc, which is cute and endearing.
And then they go on their like first date. He actually asks Bianca out, and they go eat cheesesteaks because it's Philly.
And then the scene about Jawn that got a lot of articles because that's a real thing. The all-purpose use of that word in Philly. So that was a nice, thing that they included that would relate to people in Philadelphia.
And they're like, hey, this movie's about me. Jonathan Philly.
Jonathan Jawn.
So again, just another nice courtship going on. And and before this, he even stepped in on a concert of hers because he saw her on a poster. And like,
which Luba Gordon, I saw, is one of her band and wrote the songs she's performing. And I'm guessing the other guy is probably someone who, works on music with him.
Yeah. And then we've got sort of Rocky's turning point, which is like he's still doing the thing where he goes to the cemetery in the morning. Tree
and
chair,
I cry.
tree chair. Why? Because you saw fucking Polly?
Yes. No, I mean, not just that. The totality of it, which he's going to have a line about, a big great speech about later.
Fucking,
but the added losses in his life. I mean, for
I
you,
Matt,
I was going to say, not only would you applaud, but I'm sure you were kind of upset they didn't do a flashback to his death
of him choking to death on a chicken bone. Yes, like
brings him an alcohol, brings him booze because
rot in hell, you son of a bitch.
He also he describes him what it says my best friend, but he wasn't very friendly or something like that.
Awful to the end. I wish it said that on his tombstone.
Great continuity to Rocky Balboa. Still going there, still the chair in the tree. Again, as much as Matt would like it to be just for his own benefit, I think that Polly was killed for the same reason Adrian was killed in the last one, which is he would be a distraction in this story. Besides him being Polly,
he would also be terrible and racist.
I know he'd be terrible and racist, but also just you can't do Stallone can't you can't have him do a great speech about how I'm the only one left. If Polly's still around.
Also, there's non-narrative reasons to keep him out of the story, which is that he's awful.
Well, we've had 6 movies of A Wonderful Man, but it was time to say goodbye, even though Burt Young was still going to die.
See you in hell, motherfucker. I hope he's...
And, again, it's just the poignancy and the sadness of
and it's
seeing your heroes get older because he's talking to Adrian, talking about it's harder to walk up this hill and his back problems.
And
we've watched this character for so long.
He sits there and he opens the paper, reads the paper with Adrian every morning. Unfortunately, Polly's also there, which is to say, and then he just kind of decides, hey, I'm going to train this guy, and that's kind of all that's all I need. I don't need I didn't need a leaf blowing onto Adrian's grave tombstone.
No.
It's that's a sign or something. He's just you know what? This is kind of boring reading the paper. I'm going to go do something with my life right now. And I'm going to give this kid a chance and I'm going to see what he's all about and do that. And
that's where the chickens come back.
And some of the repeated rhetoric in this movie involves, because we look in the past, it's home team or go for it, or there's the things that get callbacks. And one of the messages in this movie is, you are your toughest opponent. Obviously Rocky Balboa had the very famous speech about it's not how hard you get hit, it's how hard you get hit and keep moving forward. This one is he makes him look at the mirror and fight the guy in front of you, and then that comes back in the final match. Basically, it's the same thing in the final match. It's you're fighting yourself. He's just in the way, right? Get him out of the way. You're fighting yourself. And so that sort of permeates. And I also like that this movie really felt more about boxing technique, because there is kind of a trick play in the mid match, the oneer match where Rocky tells him to do a thing that he did with Apollo, or that Apollo got him with.
Yes.
So that was kind of a trick play, but at the end, you really just felt like it was the culmination of Adonis's training. You know what I mean? It wasn't I'm going to go left on you, and now I'm going to fight with my right hand, and now it wasn't anything like that. It was just, and obviously, the boxing and the fighting is miles ahead of a lot of those old movies as far as just the trading blows back and forth. There's actually dodging and ducking instead of just constantly hitting each other in the face like some of the Rocky 3 and 4.
Right.
Which was all just nobody blocked shit.
No. It was just the 2 strongest men on earth punching
each other in the face. Somebody who could literally punch through a log, punching in the head over and over again. And then, just more sweet stuff with Bianca. They're literally making music together. And then we've kind of talked about this already. We've got Pete seeing money and having Rocky at an event.
Well, first he's kind of pissed just because he was trying to get Rocky to help train his son.
Right.
And so then he's kind of what the hell that he's turning this other guy he doesn't know. But then still being well, there's still a way to make some money off this. Yeah.
Right. But for this fight, Donnie moves in to Rocky's house. And so this is when it becomes more openly sweet and him becoming part of the family, because
what do you think he discovered in Polly's old room? I mean, we see him find a porn magazine.
Yeah.
But that's just got to be the...
Oh my God. First of all, Polly porn in its own right. Just What if, Eric, what if he pulls up that magazine and it's just sexy robots? Like, what if after
Actually, it turns into like a horror movie of like, oh my god, like the music's playing as he's looking through the pages,
and it turns out that Rocky actually preserved Polly's brain inside a robot. It's like, this is the way I wanted to go, Rock.
This movie was lacking the robot.
Yeah, but no, but I'm just saying, like, that's what he's into now after his robot wife and Paul and in the previous Rocky movie.
Yes.
He's like,
yeah, so he moves in.
Oh my god, yeah, like
gonna live in
the depravity that Polly and Robert had to be in that room with Polly. He had to share that room. It's so small, and the bed was a twin.
Yeah,
it's terrible. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Basically,
this is when we hear about Robert in this
new gym to train him. So sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to mention that this is when he talks about Robert, and there's obviously the real life poignancy. The picture they choose to use here is of Stallone and Stage Stallone, who played Rocky Jr. Robert in Rocky V. At this point, had passed away. So that's like a nice poignant thing there. And then they go to train at the other gym, which wisely, because he says he doesn't want him fighting, training at the same gym as the guy he's fighting. This is where I was like, wait, when he's introducing him to the crew of the gym, he introduced him to the best cut man in the business, Stitch. And I go, wasn't that guy in one of the other movies? And I was right that real life, this guy is Jacob Stitch Duran. That's his real life nickname. He's a real life cut man. But he was in Rocky Balboa as Mason Dixon's cut man. So it's one of those things where retroactively they're like, yeah, it's the same character because why not? Like, best cut man in the business. He was Mason Dixon's cut man, and now but he and Rocky are pals. And here he is to return in this.
Oh man, I mean, so cut man isn't just to cut your eye open, which they do sometimes, but they are the tend to your injuries.
Yeah, he's like a little
fights.
medic. Yeah,
but he's the guy who does nosebleeds or cuts or whatever like that, swelling, stuff like that. But I love that scene at the end when his eye is obviously swollen completely shut, and they're tapping the back of his neck to show the fingers. Oh, so fucking good. Okay. Yeah, and then there's a guy who's making him gloves, and again, Rocky's age means he's not going to be in there training with him, so he has these other guys doing it. Though he does bring back the chicken chasing. So some of the classics, a lot of fun callbacks that don't distract from the movie, that just add to that help bring this into the larger saga.
And that great shot, it was in the trailers of them both hitting the punching bag together, the small punching bag,
the speed bag.
And then also
speed bag,
speed bag. Another great way to I like the part where Adonis gets all pissed at his sparring partner and Rocky gets him to apologize, A, because it shows his temper, which will get him into more trouble later in the movie, and B, just like, that like Rocky making sure they work their shit out and being like, hey, he's on our side.
And they do, like, pretty quickly, so it's good. And then we get to the fight itself, and I'm trying to think. It's actually a pretty big fight.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, the fact that this movie, I mean, again, when I was watching it again today, I realized, this was very talked about the first fight, and the fact that this movie had two big fights, which I guess Rocky 3 and 4 did as well.
Yeah, and and so one of the funny, great, unique things about it is like when his anxiety is such at a high level, he's got a shit.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
and what's also great, it's a great funny moment. Cut my gloves off, I'm freaking out, I gotta take a shit. But also Rocky kind of goes, it happens. Like, he's seen it all.
He's experienced it. Everyone has. It's just like you get the pre-match.
And I like Bianca being like, I'm going to go outside. Like,
she's like,
she doesn't want to be there for that.
Exit stage Bianca. And then she leaves. Yeah, and so really great. We already mentioned the camera work that's done with this fight, the one shot, and like bringing you into it, and just the choreography between these two guys. Obviously, the lion guy, the Pete's son, is an actual fighter. Like, getting real fighters in there is always, it's kind of the one of the hallmarks of this entire franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I would assume, helps with all of this, and it looks really cool.
Yep.
And knocks him down and gets the big win, and he's so happy about it. He even, and again, in a very non-Tommy way, for one of the first things he does when he wins is he says, I did this because of you. Like, we got this one because of you. And he's
Right.
thanking Rocky, literally. Like,
Uh-huh.
where Tommy would have been like, George Washington Duke is my guy.
When do I fight the champ?
Yeah, why are you throwing eggs at me? What about Tommy? What about Tommy Gunn? And the reporters are like, Tommy, why do everyone hate you? So,
we hate you.
We hate you. Why do I hate you? We want answers right now. And then, they're back at home and they're watching Skyfall, like I think everyone should after a big hard-fought battle.
Another MGM franchise. So yeah, keep it in the family.
And Rocky's like, I wonder who's going to be the new Bond after this.
James Bond, right?
Hey,
and then
you know who should be James Bond? Michael B. Jordan. That's who should be James Bond.
This is when after he because he goes upstairs, and then this is when they have sex. But we also get the return of the turtles.
Yes, the turtles.
Pan up to the turtles.
And they're like, we're still alive, motherfucker.
We're still alive. We're gonna outlive you.
By the way, getting to see the beautiful, beautiful Michael B. Jordan and Tessa Thompson have sex on the couch must have been a feast for these turtles. Do you know how much they probably watched Polly jerk off on that couch? Just like constantly.
God. they don't want to think about it.
They're like, thank God that guy is gone. The horrors we can't unsee. And they're like, why do we live so long? Why are we immortal? Please, someone kill me. This is the curse of the vampire. And then, so then at this point, the next morning, because Pete found out the secret, he leaked it out. And then Bianca's mad at him for not telling the full truth or keeping things from her. And they have it out, but then they wind up being good, at least until he loses his shit on a musician later on.
Yes.
But this is when, as soon as the Creed stuff comes out, this is when Graham McTavish's character, whose name I forget, sees dollar signs.
It might be Tommy, actually. Yeah, it's other Tommy. It's a Tommy Holiday.
Tommy, Tony's, Dookies. Yeah,
it's a very similar treatment with Pretty Ricky to Mason Dixon, which is to say, not a giant part of the movie, but sprinkled in, and to at this point, moving beyond the third and fourth, and even eventually where the fifth one goes, trying not to make them such villainous people, that even the fact that even though Tommy sees dollar signs and all this, is also like, hey, we want to make sure your kids have a roof over your head. So it's like, that it's not to be like, we're gonna kill him and we're gonna make money. To try to like humanize these guys.
We're gonna just jump up in the air, freeze frame.
Yes.
Like, money. I think we learned a little bit about like why he, like, I think there was like aggravated assault, or he had a weapon, like why he's going to prison.
We don't get the full details, but we get like, he has a line.
We get it enough that he's not like the worst person in the world, but he is like Adonis has a temper, and that comes out at press conferences, and he's a bit of a punk ass, and like, So anyway, then basically he talks it over with Bianca, and he starts talking about like what he doesn't want to use the Creed name, so he's afraid.
They won't take the fight without the Creed name. That's like the big selling point.
So he's afraid of taking the name and losing, but she's kind of like, claim your name, it's your name, use it.
This is a great interaction here. Yeah, him saying that he's afraid of taking it and being called a fraud, and that he's a fake, and that that it's the burden of it. And
so there's enough drama going on in this movie already, but then
and I was really surprised that this doesn't come in until an hour and 15 minutes into the movie. In my memory, it was earlier in the movie.
It's kind of like the third act.
Not just Rocky's cancer coming up, but that he didn't even know. Like, it would be one thing if like he was already keeping it quiet, but it's like,
no, he collapses, he finds out, and then because the training montage in this movie is while he is undergoing chemo and in the hospital and like sick, right? So it's like, this is part of the end game. The whole training montage leading into the big fight over in England is is the reconciliation and the full coming together of like Rocky and Adonis's characters and what they mean to each other. And while also calling back, like, for a second here, because Rocky collapses and he's diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and that he's once again reminded of where he was before he met Adonis, which
Yes.
is like somebody who was already ready to go, and like everything I loved is gone. I don't have much to live for. So he was kind of just waiting to die. And this was almost like a siren's call to back to where he was, which is like, hey, you can still do this. You can still leave. Because he opts not to have chemo because of like it didn't work with Adrian. We learned a little bit more about that because we didn't.
Yeah,
this is all off screen.
And we talked about this. We went going back to Burgess Meredith. It's like, you know, the Stallone, the scene that got him an Oscar nomination, even though it's a great performance in the whole movie. Yeah, this scene and just like, you know, talking everything that I've got has moved on and I'm here. You know, the fact that everyone he loved is gone. Robert is still alive, but like not in his life. Everyone
again,
else
another like sign that things still aren't great with Robert, that he's willing to like, he's like, I can't leave. I got a son. No,
right.
It's just like, and so it's not even that he doubts that the chemo will work because it didn't with Adrian. So it's not like, hey, we tried it, it didn't work. So why would I do that? It's just that, why would I want to save myself? Like, so, and he said, he has a line about like, I told myself if I was ever broken, I wasn't going to fix it. Like, so yeah, great stuff. And like what it does to Donnie. And my favorite part of all of this is when Rocky, who rarely does this is a poly move, like emotionally lashing out, saying like, you're not family. That was all in your head. Like being that guy. That's the guy Rocky usually deals with.
Right.
This is Rocky doing it. And as soon as he does it and Donnie leaves, he says to himself, he's like, what'd you do? Like, oh, Stallone is so great in that moment. Like, talking to himself, like instantly regretting what he said.
I was trying to, I wonder if it's just, you know, useless trivia, but hey, we love that. I wonder if this is the record for, because actors have been nominated for playing the same role before, but Stallone getting nominated for playing the same role so spread out, you know, like 39 years apart. I wonder if that's the first. I also want to mention, you mentioned at the top, like, you know, it's a great score. Ludwig Göransson's score is great, start to finish, and it's really great in its sort of judicious use of the original Rocky themes. It like sprinkles it in when he goes to the cemetery, you know, then when he comes back to the gym after he gets his diagnosis, of course it's going to play later on. And it's funny because I interviewed Göransson for Wakanda Forever. Now, obviously that movie had this giant other off-screen burden of like the death of Chadwick Boseman, but we talked about like in that movie, you know, it's always a question with the sequel, but in that movie even more, like, when do you use the themes from the first movie that were associated with T'Challa, and it, you know, and making sure it's the right moments? And so here they didn't have this real life onus of this tragedy, but still I think it's really well done. It's not wall to wall the Rocky music, but when it happens, it packs a punch. No pun intended.
Yeah, and obviously there's very specific moment at the end of this movie when that theme is used. When the full it's theme, just paced so well. Just lands excellently. And this is when basically Adonis actually finds, so they already had it out because he found the cancer pamphlets, and now he feels abandoned, and he's right then he literally goes to Bianca's show where she's got a very important opening act show at a very cool venue, and gets into shit with apparently someone who's the actual headlining act of that band. Who's calling him Baby Creed, and that pisses him off. Didn't like it. And not only that, when he winds up in jail, we hear that he was fighting with the inmates too, and that's why he's been separated. And then so Rocky comes and gets him. At that point, though, when he tries to go apologize to Bianca, she wants to hear that, she's concerned when she hears that Rocky's sick, but after that she takes her hearing aid out and like doesn't listen to him. But I want to mention that a little bit more of the prison scene, because there's a great exchange there. Again, thing is they can't work their shit out quite yet, and you know, Adonis has a very, you know, cutting line about, you're talking like you're my family, you got my real family killed. And then Rocky talking about like, you know, maybe you're angry with somebody who ain't here to defend himself, which is of course Apollo. Well, he says, I know what it's like to feel abandoned. Yeah, that's when he says it. Yeah. Good. But and he says like, yeah, forgive him for not being here, like forgive your dad. Like, and it's because he says that you get the feeling he's done that too, like he did that with his own father. And
again, like I just I admire the restraint of letting us fill in those blanks. It's good. Rocky doesn't need a speech about exactly what happened. It's fine. This is good.
And then we get the final, like, Adonis goes to Rocky and says, I don't fight if you don't fight. And so they fist bump, and then he gets chemo, and then he starts training in the hospital. And just really great montage that's unique to this movie, very specific and emotional. Jogging next to these scooter guys we didn't mention are sort of this scene that it operates outside of the new gym he was training at, which is people going by in sort of scooters and ATVs.
And obviously it's their way to do the Rocky running through the streets with their own twist on it.
Yeah.
And to the point that they play Gonna Fly Now, but it's a song called Fighting Stronger. That's like using the Gonna Fly Now theme within it. And it's awesome.
We kind of race to the finish here, but the movie still is really paced well. It doesn't feel rushed or anything.
No. It's a longer for this franchise. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes, which I think speaks to the fact that it has to because it's giving Rocky as a character his due. This supporting character has significant screen time and scenes of his own.
Yeah, and we get he goes over to England, and there's a press conference, and this is now it's funny because so now Donnie is faced with someone else who is as angry as he is and gets in someone's face as much as he does, and vice versa. And so they get into it. No blows land, no punches are thrown or anything like that. But it's going to be a heated exchange. But then Rocky surprises Adonis by he's brought Bianca over to England, but no sex because of the women make your legs weak. I can't remember what the quote is because he said it earlier in the movie, repeating what Mickey said back.
Yeah. There's no photo of a dead loved one to make sure. But then one of many cries in this movie is the gift of his father's actual robes and trunks and stuff like that. And I'd forgotten, I really love something I'd forgotten, which is it saying Johnson on the back. So Creed on the front, again, Marianne, honoring his mother's name. But then the name he's embracing of his father's on the front.
Well, it's funny because Conlon at the press conference touts his humble upbringings so much, and then they both come from humble upbringings, you feel. But then Adonis's entrance, his is sort of understated. There's music, but then it's just his robes and his posse wearing both names of his father and his mother and stuff like that. But then Conlon comes out to basically a wrestling Undertaker style,
he's got fire breathing,
fire breathers, and
crazy
stuff like
shit.
That. So it doesn't feel. It feels like he's way distanced himself from this life that he claims to be connected and tethered to. So right there is the hubris of the champion.
Of the champ. But also it's because Conlon calls him a silver spoon, which obviously pisses Donnie off. But later on in the match, Rocky will have that line about they don't know what you've been through, and they sure don't know what we've been through. That it's it doesn't matter what he calls you. We know the real story, and that you've had your own struggles.
And then we've got we're still in the Michael Buffer era. So from Rocky Balboa to this movie, Michael Buffer still
another returning person.
The ring
Buffer
announcer
is now a recurring franchise player.
We get to do his trademarked you got to pay him if you say it, let's get ready to rumble. And then we've got kind of the fight, and it's just really well done. It feels different from everything that came before it, while not wildly going outside the box. It's still just a boxing match, but because of the characters involved,
a drinking game you can play is when the commentators go, "Whoa, we've got a real fight on our hands." that's a big moment in a lot of these movies.
There's the moment when the underdog actually makes the big bad bleed and say, and is oh shit, this is real. And much like the first Rocky movie, Adonis gets dominated in the first round, but then eventually finds his opening, comes back, and actually starts putting up a fight to make the opponent and his trainer like freak out, and I have to like change tactics and be like, you've got this, but just don't, they have to do that. And it's all really well done, and it uses a lot of the camera work techniques from the first fight, but now mixed in with montages, and then also elements of like, there's a point where like the lights and the sound dim, and also slow-mo.
There's
like
the blood splattering, lots of like blood in the bucket. And then what you were just mentioning, like when he does when he takes the big hit and he falls flat, and the commentating drops out, the music drops out. Great moment, and then he's sort of flashing through his life and things we've seen, but it ends with that silent shot of Apollo fighting before he gets up. Fucking great. Great.
And he gets up quick, like it like snaps him out of this state. And they even say like, he just rose up like a man possessed. And just some great choreography between the two fighters. And it just happens. And it's one of those things where it's a Rocky 1 ending too, because it like everyone goes the distance, they go multiple rounds, and it's a decision. It's a win for the champ, but I don't know. There's elements from the past here that play out, but it still feels like its own unique thing.
No, for sure. But also
Conlon won the fight, but Creed won the night. They say
right.
So is the
look. If you can pull off formula well, that's fine. It's funny. Like literally, look, Rocky Balboa. These are two movies in a row that kind of repeat the first movie's thing, but all three movies do it well. So it's totally fine. And like you said, this has enough of its own elements, and then, Adonis is his own character that it works. And, you mentioned this earlier, but, okay, we go into the final round, and that's where, Rocky's going to give him one last speech and says,
oh my God, this is what made me, there's multiple moments during this movie that I cried, but this line, just like full on waterfalls from my face. Just like when he says, I'm not a mistake, like prove what do you need to prove? He says, I'm not a mistake. My God. They should have landed that airplane, because everyone should have been worried about it.
This guy is freaking out.
It's just funny. Yeah, he's obviously like he's got some like biotoxin inside him or something.
But no, it's a great moment articulating what's been this sort of building thing through the movie of his sort of resentment and pain about his father's not being there, and what does it mean that he was like product of an affair.
Just fuck off. It kills me every time.
It's great. And then Rocky saying he's going to keep fighting if he fights, and you're Creed and I love you, kid. And then that moment when they finally kick in the fucking full Rocky
and he stands up. He stands up. The bell rings. He stands up.
That was I will say you did miss your
I know like
the opening night crowd at the Sherman Oaks ArcLight, which we were discussing before we started recording. I remember the crowd going crazy.
R.I.P. Sherman Oaks ArcLight.
Yes, going crazy for that.
R.I.P. Sherman Oaks Regal. Yeah, R.I.P. everything.
What a well-earned moment. Before we get and again, it's I use air quotes to say that it's cheesy because it's perfect. He like literally knocks down Conlon, who's never been knocked down, just like Apollo hadn't, right? With 1 second to go. He knocks him down, and he doesn't win, but still, like, he went the distance. And then Rocky has that, thing where he's like, if 10 seconds more, you would have had him.
Yeah, if the bell had him, saved by the bell, as they say.
Good shit.
What a good movie. And then they climb the steps, but this time Rocky has a little tough time.
And I cry. It's tougher for him.
I wish he had the dog too. What happened to Punchy?
Well, it's been 9 years. And he was already an older
I guess.
Yeah. But no, really sweet there.
I'd rather have seen Punchy's grave next to Adrian than Polly's. But
he's like, Polly's at the pet cemetery. But not the one that brings
Polly's in the backyard. Polly's just like
actually I buried Polly under the meat factory.
Polly's just actually hanging in the beef factory.
Frozen forever. But yes, great, having them walk up the steps at the end, of course, but save it for then. Great movie. Has someone who did love Rocky Balboa. I mean, I think this is of course even better. But it's just like this is like peak of the franchise for me because it's this like emotional crescendo. And again, that's saying a lot coming off 4 and 5, and like a movie, movies that were very hard to connect with emotionally, even though 5 was trying really hard to, but feeling false about it. What a rebound. What a rebound.
What a rebound.
Yeah.
I assume Creed 2 did well and was received well. I don't think I really paid attention to that, but the fact that there's a Creed 3 coming, that because I know Coogler did not direct it. Obviously, it was someone else who I don't know.
I think he's been an EP on the sequels.
Yeah. I don't know if who this other person is, but I'll find
well,
out.
It's funny because Coogler, look, Black Panther Wakanda Forever has been out long enough that if I'm going to say a small spoiler for it, guys, but you've had it in your chance. Because Coogler has literally never directed a movie that Michael B. Jordan hasn't been in.
That's true.
And so while he did not stay on with directing the Creed movies because the MCU beckoned, but I believe he still has some involvement as an EP, and clearly they have a great working relationship, those two gentlemen.
And then I do know, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners do too, that Michael B. Jordan directed Creed 3. So yeah.
Which is a very interesting, obviously, because Stallone, would start directing those films as well. So all works out.
Hey Eric, this was a good movie.
It was a good movie, and we'll talk about the next installment.
Woo! All right, everyone, thanks for doing this the Creed cast with us. Stay tuned for Creed 2, Electric Creedaloo. Until then, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shockma.